So this is a checklist, right? Like when you're looking at a partner, you have a checklist.
Yes.
I would say you meet 9 out of 10 things on my checklist.
Yeah.
The one thing that you're working on it. It's emotional support. That's very hard for you, especially when I'm crying.
Yeah.
I can't force you to be there for me
Right.
emotionally when I'm crying because of things that have happened to you in your past. I'm understanding of that. I can't bitch about that.
Right.
So am I going to overlook all of the 9 other things because you don't meet that one need I have?
Right.
No. I hope I didn't just hurt your feelings. Okay.
No, I actually thought about this whole emotional thing because this is one of the big hangups.
Yeah.
And it's really not a big hangup.
What do you mean a hang up? Yeah.
It's a hangup in that, like, if you have a checklist of 10 things that are required of a partner and I meet 9 out of 10 and I'm hung up on one, like, I could be better. Come on. It's just one. So I've thought about it.
Right.
A
But
lot.
that's also 40 years of emotional damage that you have to go through and process. I
Right.
can't expect you to be that for me because of everything that's happened to you.
That's right, because it would require me to be the one to engage in that. But in this scenario where you were being emotional and needed me and came and sat in my lap, it would 100% happen.
Right.
I would give you every emotional support you needed, no matter how frustrated or mad I was, because you made a decision to come and sit in my lap, and I knew that I would know that that's what you needed in the moment, instead of trying to read your energy to see if you're giving me the silent treatment, to see if you're processing, to see if you hate me, to figure out my BPD, whether or not you're abandoning me, and all of that shit. I've put a lot of thought into this. I was not trying to have this conversation on the podcast, but that's the answer to our emotional issue. If you were going through it and we are going through it and you were to just say, fuck it, I'm sitting in his lap, I'm going to cry on his chest, in his lap, I would never push you away. Never. That's the answer to that whole scenario.
Wow.
Yep. Put a lot of thought into that.
That's a lot.
You know that when we have our arguments,
Right.
my borderline kicks in immediately.
Right.
It happened this morning over a text message. I was like, I need you to tell me that you're not abandoning me right now.
Yeah.
Like, and it was a, you know, it wasn't even a bad text message. Like, just the way that I read it sent me spiraling. But we had a conversation. It was resolved within 15 minutes.
Right.
But I know that I need certain assurances when my borderline's kicking. You are an emotional assurance person when you're going through it. So in the event that I know that you're going through it and I know that you don't hate me and you're not abandoning me and that it's not the end of the world, I have no problem grabbing you, holding you, kissing you, touching you, because I've done it. But it takes a conversation for us to get to that point so that I know where I stand, because in the event that I believe you're going through those things, there's no way I can put myself in that position.
Right. So now I'm going to ask you a question. You've told me that when we are at odds or we're frustrated with each other, you don't want to do that. And that's why you don't do it.
Because I can't read the room. I don't know where I stand.
So the reason I haven't come to you and just sat in your lap and doing all that kind of stuff is because in you saying that you don't want to do those kinds of things in that moment, I was in fear of rejection.
Yeah. Would never reject you like that.
That's good to know.
Even if I was infuriated, like hostile, infuriated, and you
Right.
tried to sit in my lap to calm yourself, I would never push you away. It would probably end up doing a soothing thing for both of us, because I would know that you're not leaving, that you're not thinking of abandoning me, that whatever this is, we're going to make it through it. Like, that would probably quench a whole lot of BPD nonsense in the moment. Put a lot of thought into this. So stop. I don't want there to be that one thing that I'm not able to provide simply because I haven't made the decision to do that. Does that make sense? And like, I know the emotional trauma and I know the emotional triggers and I know my emotional trauma and emotional triggers. And the hang up that I have always had is I don't know where I stand. And like, we had a day like 6 months ago where we didn't speak for like 5 hours. And I was like, is this going to fucking continue until tomorrow? And you're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you've given me the silent treatment all fucking day and I don't deserve this. And you're like, I'm not giving you the silent treatment. You were like, I've tried to talk to you here and there. You were like, you said, I'm processing what's going on because of the conversation we had and I don't know how I feel about XYZ. And I'm trying to find the right way to talk to you. And this was how we figured out the whole, if you're frustrated and you can't figure out the words, you need to say, I'm going to be an asshole and just say what you have to say so that we don't have that. And I was like, I have been giving you the silent treatment all day and treating you the way that I felt you were treating me. And had we just been like, hey, I'm not mad at you right now. I'm just trying to understand what's going on. That whole 6 or 7 hour process would have been 5 minutes. So we had to learn that the hard way. And those small things and I say small, it was a big deal at the time. It turned out to be a very small thing because it was a very minor misunderstanding. Those small things will never repeat themselves because we've worked through those processes. It just took me a little bit longer to work through my processes of my emotional bullshit because I didn't know how to explain to you what I'm going through. And you've seen my borderline breakdowns. You had seen the borderline breakdowns. Recently, you've seen them way worse because I've had a couple of like bad episodes. And even those are mild in comparison to like month-long ordeals, which luckily I haven't had in a while. But I'm also a lot more comfortable now telling you what's going on because I don't feel like I'm blaming my borderline because you understand enough about my illness for me to tell you like specifically,
Right.
this is a borderline thing. You know what it is. I need you to reassure me, blah, 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 blah. Because otherwise, when I say it's my borderline, I feel like I'm making excuses. You know how hard it is to tell somebody you have a problem and then say, well, it's because I'm an alcoholic. It's bullshit. You made a choice. Like,
Right.
it may be a disease, but like, so for my borderline and the issues that I have, every time I have to tell you it's my borderline, I feel like I'm making excuses. I don't feel like I'm just living my life. And I don't want to be a guy that makes excuses, and I damn sure don't want to make it a crutch or make me a victim to my shit because it's not the case. I just need to get it out there. That's what I'm going through. And then once that emotion has been checked, I can logic brain think my way through the rest of it, but it's not always a comfort thing for me to get to that point.
Right.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of unnecessary conversation. What?
I needed that. I was thinking today about like the checklist and how you meet almost everything but that one thing.
Yeah.
And you just presented a solution to me. I was not expecting that. I was fully prepared to live the rest of my life without having that.
Nope. It's not necessary. I have to, I guess we both need the reassurances. And one of the big things with borderline is the abandonment. So anytime anything happens, if you even get slightly off with me, my initial go-to is you're leaving. Even though we don't talk about it, we don't do that. I believe that you're here. When my logic brain is going, I know you're not, we're going to leave. The smallest slight sends me right into abandonment.
Yeah.
And I know that. So when I'm going through that and I'm going through abandonment, I don't know how to process that. But if you climbed in my lap while I'm going, oh God, she's going to leave me, obviously you're not going anywhere if you're in my lap crying on my chest. You know what I mean? Like, I truly believe that would quench a lot of that. Even if I am frustrated or even if I'm actually angry at you, I don't think that would, I believe that would actually start to resolve the situation a lot faster for me. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
What?
I'm flabbergasted right now.
Okay.
I was not expecting any of that. I mean, I'm grateful. I guess I'm in shock.
Yeah.
Like I was standing in the piercing room, not the piercing room, the sterile room, scrubbing my tools. It was after we had our conversation, and I was like, this is just one of those things. I was like, am I gonna nitpick this, or I'm just gonna be like, he literally is everything else that I want in life. So 1 thing out of 10, I wasn't gonna harp on that.
Right.
I was going to.
Was this after our phone call at lunchtime?
Yes.
Okay. That was a big misunderstanding too. That was you were already frustrated and read my text message the way you heard it versus the way I said it, which is why I called and was like, hey, what's happening right now? Like,
Yeah. I also felt like you could have worded that differently.
Well, going back and looking at it, I absolutely could have.
Yeah.
But I was putting out fires when I sent the text message.
Right.
So yeah, that's.
And like after hearing the conversation of why you were so frustrated, hey guys, if you enjoyed that, found it entertaining, funny, or even learned something you didn't know before, share it. And if you're not subscribed, why aren't you? And for those of you who want to support us, get access to exclusive content and live streams, we do have a Patreon. All the links are in the description.